Hello and welcome to Cup of Comp Sci. Today we're going to talk about how to get into the vast world of coding. So if you're a beginner in the world of code, if you've never started coding and you want to learn how to do it, or if you just started out, this video is for you. Basically, the first question that's usually asked for people who are starting to learn to code is, what language do I start off with? So there are varied opinions on this, and there are a vast array of languages out there. But I think the best language to start off with is Java. So the reason I say Java is because if you take a language like Java and compare it to Python, Java has a lot of concepts that are not present in Python, such as like the concept of types. If you pick up Python first, you don't have to specify a type for a variable that you create, but in Java you do, and in most programming languages you do. So I think Java is better as compared to Python, although Python is easier to pick up. And if you compare Java to a language like C or C++, with Java you don't need to worry about allocating memory yourself. It's always done for you, because Java has its garbage collector, it manages allocation of memory. But a language like C, or to some extent, depending on how you use it, C++ as well, so those languages give you the option to allocate memory yourself. And the program won't take care of the allocation for you. So you can start off with C++, but I think to do that, you need to properly understand what the layout of your memory is like and what computer architecture is, essentially. You need to know about the heap, the stack, and stuff like that. So I actually recommend to start off with Java instead, because it might become a bit too overwhelming at times if you start off with like C++, but for some people it's completely fine. It just depends on what you want. But I recommend Java. And if you started off in a different programming language, or if you want to do a different programming language as your first language, that's completely fine. At the end of the day, learning computer science and getting into the world of code is just motivation and how much work you put into it. So if picking a different language helps keep you motivated, then you should do that. Alright, once you've picked up, or at least chosen, a language, what do you do next? Well, you need to pick up the fundamentals, and there are a bunch of websites out there. So this video is not sponsored, but there's Udemy and a bunch of other websites that you should check out. You should just Google, how do I learn to code? And you will find a bunch of resources. But the most important thing here is to not just watch, but also do. And for that, what I used to do is I used to learn the fundamentals from these websites, and I used to then practice them on a site called Python Tutor. So this site lets you type in code and essentially see how the computer would deal with it. So you can step through a program that you write out line by line, and on the right hand side you will see a window which shows you exactly what the return value of the function is, or what's happening on that line in terms of what's being stored in the computer. So I 1000% recommend using this website, and it has support for multiple languages. So C++, Python, Java, the support is there, and you just need to use the website. Again, this is not a sponsored video, but this is just something that helped me. So again, we use Python Tutor to like practice fundamentals, and once you think you've gotten a grasp of like the very basic fundamentals of the language, the next step would be to try coding something on your own. Now that's actually, to some people, a very daunting experience. It was a very daunting experience for me. So what I did was I actually started off with following a video tutorial on a simple command line program where I had to like write a program to guess the number. So I would guess a number and put in an input on the command line, and my program would tell me, oh, this number is not correct. The actual number I'm thinking of, or the computer is thinking of, is lower or higher, or whether I've gotten the exact number. So it was very simple, but after that, what I did is I added on my own features to the program. So that was not in the tutorial, and that helped me fortify my understanding of the video. So I recommend that, especially if it's your first project or one of your first few projects and you're finding it hard to start your own personal project. That's what you should do. Follow a tutorial and then add your own feature onto the tutorial. But make sure you do the tutorial, as in you actually code it and understand everything that's happening in the tutorial. Once you've gotten that down, the next step is to just keep practicing. You can do it in the way I suggested, as in following a tutorial, then adding your own stuff or changing the code so that you can make sure you understand what's happening. But after you've done that, you should try and start your own projects. You can start off with a basic website by potentially trying to read documentation, following part of a tutorial, and then trying to continue the rest on your own. It's up to you. But the most important line is just try to start coding. If you want to go for a tutorial, go with that first. If you want to just start from scratch, it's harder, but you can try that as well. And eventually, once you've started doing a bunch of tutorials, you would be able to just write your own project. And that's the next step that you should try out. Just write your own project from scratch. And I can make a whole other video about like project ideas, but you should pick something that interests you and something that will help you learn as well. And after that, you need to make sure you're also in touch with just basic coding from time to time if you're not coding. And if you don't have time for projects, I recommend doing things like lead code or HackerRank. It's a nice way to make sure you get your fundamentals down as well as keep up your practice. But yeah, that is how I would recommend you start coding in a very short manner, but hopefully it helps. And yeah, I will also be learning how to use new technologies on the channel itself. So make sure to follow along if you'd like to, once you've gotten your fundamentals down. Thanks for watching and hope this helps.